right, hey, so welcome back to this corner of the DC universe on this. Okay. Hey, so welcome back, hitchhikers. We're traveling down to the end of this road here on the digital highway in this corner of the DC universe. I am your hijacker and everything, and I'm pulling up to a rest stop, and this time is episode 11 of Stargirl. So we're coming down to the end here because I mean the next two episodes is kind of be a two-parter. So we're finally at the end, and my heart really indeed saddened and everything to the end of the journey. But now it's actually the beginning. If you watch this episode of The Shining Knight, so of course it opens with our man Justin. He's out at a farm. He's been here before looking for his faithful steed, Winged Victory, and everything. A lot of people don't know that the Seven Soldiers of Victory was kind of like named after the horse and everything because the horse name was Victory. But the farmer must have seen Justin before, so he's really at his ends rope when he like shoots him away and everything. And Justin is really in a sad state. I believe the actor Mark Ashworth is doing a fantastic job. Of course, can't wait for him to shave off that scraggly beard, just as I had to do. You know what I mean? But so a bus drives by, and on that bus brings down a mysterious stranger. We've seen him from behind and from above, because they're trying to keep it to the last minute about is Stargirl's dad, is Courtney's dad actually Starman? And we are finally revealed that he is not. He is Sam Curtis, who's back in town. He's gotten the message, and he's really, humbled to see his daughter all grown. Remember, he didn't see her about like it's been about 13 years, I believe. It's been a long time. And Courtney, of course, does not want to accept it, but Pat and Barbara, yeah, that's your dad, and stuff like that. So Courtney tries to have a heart to heart with Pat about it all. And and he's like, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, this is a hard place to be in, especially as a stepdad. When the original dad comes home. I mean, it's all about what you believe about fatherhood. Fatherhood is more than blood. It's about who raises you and everything. And and we're gonna see a little bit more of that later on. So Courtney goes, yeah, can we talk and everything? So they go for a walk before school. School must start really late in this place. But yeah, so they go for a walk to have a heart to heart. And Pat is like, Barbara is like, well, what are we gonna do? And Pat's like, I still want you guys to leave because he wants to protect his family and everything. But it's hard because like Barbara wants to help. What can we do? So now Barbara is in the game. She has to probably try to keep Jordan off her tail, but surprisingly enough, Jordan is aware of everything. And it's probably, how long has Jordan been aware of everything? I think Jordan always knew who she was, but in this episode, he knows now that she knows and everything. So I think as long as she was in the dark, he was fine. But now that she knows, then it's like he has a hard decision to make. And obviously, Brainwave wants to kill her. He's full on Brainwave, and he confirms for us, as we all hoped last week, that maybe there was a chance that Henry didn't die. But no, he is gone and everything. Confirmed by the actor on Boba Talks. Nice interview, Boba, and everything. And but Henry's gone, and it's sad and everything. Um, I'm gonna probably jump around this interview because it's just like different things are going on, and I want to hit the high points. Um, so Justin shows up, goes grabs a sword, and realizes, because he sees a vision of Stripesy in the clouds. That's important in a way, because Stripesy in the clouds, it's an image, it's a strong image from uh the last time we see the Seven Soldiers, or was it when they returned and everything. But either way, he sees the flag and he realizes Stripesy can help him and everything. So Jordan, grabs his sword, which we may or may not believe is Excalibur, and everything. Hard to believe that Excalibur just spent all his time in a broom closet, you know. But so he grabs his sword and he goes to the pit stop. So at the pit stop where Pat is with the other kids, oh man, see the names and stuff. Let's just say Dr. Midnight and Iron Man and stuff like that. They wondering where Courtney is, and Pat is like, well, she's with her dad and and all this other kind of stuff. But they are put upon by Justin. And they're like, hey, this is the janitor. Hey, what are you doing here, janitor guy? Why has he got a sword? Everything. And then so it takes Pat a minute to recognize that it's actually his old friend Sir Justin, the Shining Knight, and everything. And you know, uh he is having illusions, like he sees them as Dragon King and his drones. So only further letting us know that he encountered Dragon King and Dragon King did this to him. So when Fadden is like talking to him and everything, and he's telling everybody how this is Sir Justin, and and all this, he was natural knight. He was actually a part of the round table. Rick does it for us. Really? Of course, Beth's like, wow, and everything. And as he shares bits and pieces of the story. Now, obviously, the past story origin of the Shining Knight from the comics is a fantastical one. And maybe this is a little bit too fantastical for first season of this show. So they don't give us any past images of him as a knight and all of that. But we get bits and pieces of the story that makes it palatable for consumption. But here comes a great funny moment where Pat pulls out the picture for Justin, and as of the seven soldiers of victory, and as he sees it, Beth remarks, "Yeah, but there are eight of you." Now, let me talk about this because a lot of people seem to get it twisted. And I was watching Blind Wave actually, and they were talking about that maybe Pat wasn't as popular as he thought he was, and they didn't count him as a part of the seven. But that's not it. So backstory time. So what happens is that the seven soldiers of victory were a collection of double acts, like Batman and Robin types from that period. So you had Green Arrow and Speedy, you had Crimson Avenger and Wing, you had Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy, and then you had the Vigilante. Now the Vigilante also had a sidekick and everything, but who wasn't in the picture. So what happened was is that Pat said that Shining Knight was the leader, and he probably was actually. If you just read the stories, but what it was is that at that time in the 40s, what they would do is they would always bunch off into pairs, and they would tell like four separate stories of their adventures, and they bring them together and everything. So they didn't bother as the team, they didn't bother dealing with Vigilante sidekick. I have to look that up and everything because I've forgotten what his name was. See, think. But in this case, Crimson Avenger's sidekick was Wing. Now, Crimson Avenger and Wing were kind of like the original Green Hornet and Kato, right? And what happened was is that one could debate who was first, but I believe it was Crimson Avenger and Wing. But Wing was Chinese. Now, at the time, actually, I'm going to just say Wing was Asian because he could have been Japanese, which would have even been more detriment to the time period. But he was his servant, sidekick, and everything, and he did his bit of karate and stuff like that. But so he wasn't actually included in the seven. It would be just like it would be the Vigilante, it would be the Crimson Avenger, and everything. And but Wing was always at his side. So like in that aspect, they were the seven soldiers and not the eight. And that's where that is. And so because it's about, timelines where, there were things that were proper at the time, this is their way of showcasing it as a joke that, but aren't there eight of you? And everything like that. And Pat just goes, yeah, 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 but whatever and stuff, and washes over it. So I just think that's funny and a little bit of a notation, but please look it up. The seven soldiers were eight, but they actually were nine. If you encounter vigilante sidekick. So that's where that comes from. So anyway, Courtney has a nice little breakfast with her dad in that diner. We see the waitress again, but this time they don't show her head for some strange reason. But he is telling her, yeah, he's sharing with her, but he keeps saying, I want to tell you something, I want to tell you something. But he doesn't actually get to the point until he walks her home. So when he gets her home, then he finally says, can we sit it for a second? And everything. And he's like saying, yeah, I really want to have that house and everything. And I really want you to come visit me. But, like, do you think you could give me that locket? Because then I could put the two together and I could sell it. And, I could really get the house. You could have your own room and all that. And so as he's BSing, Cameron pushes in on Courtney to her realizing that that's why you're here, for this locket that I've worn around my neck for the past so many years you've been gone. Wow. You know what I mean? So that was deep, man. I mean, Brett Bassinger, we've always kind of like talked about her acting, as far as her wide-eyed faces and everything like that. But as she went along, because this is like the 11th episode, she went along. The directors really got to, work with her, and subtlety is best. So, she was fantastic in the scene to show in her eyes that that's what you're here for, is the locket. So she goes, okay, yeah, sure, 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 sure. So she gives him the locket, the two lockets and everything. And, and he's like, yeah, okay. So, cool. Thank you. And everything. And so I'll be going. So she comes into the house and she remains as stoic as she can when she encounters Pat, to the point where he's just saying, yeah, look, it's how it is and all that kind of stuff. And I'll be here for you. And she realizes that you are my dad. So the way she hugged Henry last week, she hugs Pat. And Pat doesn't really know what to do, because Pat's not very good with emotion. You see how he was with his own son, Mike, and we're going to get to that. And Barbara even sees it, like he loves her and like he's there for her. And then he does the unthinkable where he actually chases down Sam, because Sam's got to walk back to the bus stop, still ain't got that money, right? But he's got those two lockets. And he, tells him don't come back, I mean, like, that kid loved that locket. That was all she had, and you took it from her. And, the guy's like, whatever. I'm an asshole. Oh, hey, yo, tell Barb she's looking hot, and then, Pat gives him one, and that was a cathartic move for everyone. I'm pretty sure everybody was like, yeah, you know what I mean? And the guy just sitting on the ground like, what the fuck, man? Now, let me just say this, because as we leave Sam, I wonder and hope that Sam will return next season. And I'll tell you why. So a lot of people who read the comics, this situation, occurred in the comics, and a little bit, of course, differently. But Sam did show up. He is a butthead and everything. But Sam has also been revealed to be a low-level gangster more than con man, but a low-level henchman of a famous bad guy group called the Royal Flush Gang. Now, when I heard that, I was like, what? So he's not like, and he's not a part of the royal court. He's not even a 10, but he's a 2. He's a 2 of clubs and everything in the gang. I would have loved for them to just have some kind of Easter egg nod to that, whether he had a deck of cards in his pocket or, or nervously, playing with them or something like that. That's not what his power or ability is. He's just a henchman, but that's what's great, is that he's just a henchman, But so the idea of him wanting these two lockets, I think, is somewhat of an Easter egg. These two hearts. Two hearts, two of hearts. Get it? Oh my god! But he was the two of clubs, so that would have been a little bit much if it was the two of hearts that he was. But yeah, so he came for the two hearts and everything. So that was a nice little thing. Anyway, so magically somehow, Courtney crunches time and goes to school, and she goes to the losers table, and again, this was great direction on this part, where she tells the story of her bonehead dad and how she's not Stargirl, and the camera just slowly pushes in on the table, right? Keeping her constant in the center as she tells the story, and they react and they try to, like, comfort her, and she's like, she doesn't know why the staff chose her and all that, and they're like, because it's you, you are the one and everything, and it's kind of like what Starman's last line to Pat was, is find me someone who is worthy. And so that's where we come back to the whole Excalibur thing, because now that Sir Justin is here and he's hanging out on their couch and everything else like that, he's all about Excalibur, and so uh Courtney, finds out, that Brainwave, the dad, makes a heart speech about his son, and the JSA don't know what to do, right? And this is how I love about ways of moving forward, because like with the heroes know who the villains are, and even then the villains know who the heroes are, they could still use this battleground of the school to pretend, because they're all about pretense and everything. And so they don't know what to do, right? But Brainwave goes into her mind, and he lets her hear him saying, "It's your fault," and stuff. And she's like, "No," So now she rushes back down in the basement, to pick up the staff, and it's like, "Come on, come on," because the staff won't come on and everything. With each attempt, she's at a different emotional state, and so Pat even tells her, "Look, like, it shows you, and everything like that. You just have to believe that." So it's kind of like you have to believe in you and everything, and I'll leave you alone to do this and everything. But then she realizes, I shouldn't be alone. Like, I want you, and I want you, mom, to be with me and everything. And so in this moment, she calms down, she chooses to believe in herself. And in that moment, she touches the staff, and the hair blows, the light shines a little bit too bright, a little bit overacting on Amy Smart and Luke Wilson's part. But either way, is she's not blinded by the light, is she? She is Stargirl. And now this is her pulling the sword from the stone, it's pulling the sword out of the lake. It's like all that, King Arthur and stuff, to the point where even Sir Justin comes down and says, "The queen has risen," and everything like that. And he doesn't say the princess, he says the queen, and because Justin used to always say, "Milady, milady, milady," and stuff like that. So that was a really, really good and powerful moment. Now, before we end, we had to talk about this moment with Mike, because it was totally uncalled for on Pat's part, right? Like, it's consistent with Pat's character, about him, like being single focused, and treat causing his son to be self resilient. Like he doesn't have to be taken care of as much, which is why Mike has always played this character of like, yeah, you leave me alone, I'll just do whatever. I'll make a volcano out of candy, or I'll make I'll overdo the toast, and I'll do all of these things. Leave me to my own devices, I'll just eat bag of chips. I don't need what is called actual food, um, because that's the way Pat just left him to it. Do it, do it, do it, do it. So in this case, he's really trying to comfort Courtney and keep her inspired, but Mike comes in, and it's this is not the time, Mike. But Mike is just like, "Look, man, I'm totally lost here, Dad. I mean, like, is Barbara leaving? Is that Courtney's dad? Is what's going? Is this is a, what's happening?" And and Pat shouts at him. He's like, "Just get out of here, Mike!" And it's like, come on, man, I'm your son. What are you talking about? And that was heartbreaking because, it was Pat making a choice, his stepdaughter over his own son. But it also shows you how Pat is single-minded on the mission, right? And he realizes that he needs this girl to stay being Stargirl, I think. You know what I mean? Even though he wanted Barbara to take them away and leave, he really wants her to, you know, keep up the charge. So shouting at Mike was hardcore. And I'm really hoping, please don't do this, because I know that what the finale being a two-parter and everything, and you got to get right to the action. I just really don't want them to ignore Mike, because here's my thing, right? I think Mike knows more than he's saying, and he wants his dad just to reveal it. I hope so. But I would like to see, when Mike went to the pigsty with his dad that night, because they had to sleep out at the house. And then when Courtney came, to see him and stuff like that, Mike wakes up, right? He's sleeping in the car. And then Pat goes off, and then Mike comes outside saying, "What's going on?" And Courtney, chooses to lie to him again. And he goes inside and he closes the gate. The point is that, like, every time Pat goes in there, right? Gate's always open in a way. The other kids are in there. Maybe that's why it's open. But the strike robot is just on reveal, so even when Justin came in, and after he sees the armor, and that was also a great moment too, when he goes, the squire becomes the knight, you made your own armor and everything. And Pat probably didn't even realize that, but yeah, I did. I made my own suit of armor and everything, but it's a big giant 16-foot robot. You're gonna tell me that Mike never saw that? He never saw the robot from the moment that he's sleeping to the moment that he wakes up to the moment that he goes into the garage, pissed off at Courtney. I'm telling you, Mike knows something and everything, and it needs to be sorted. That needs to be dealt with. So anyway, to end this off, I'll just end it off with our bad guys who have decided, yes, we have to take out the heroes, and you know. Icicle Jordan says, and the boy too, no legacies. I love that, because Justice Society is all about legacy and everything. And Brainwave's like, of course, I have no problem with that. So that's another reason why I want the next episode to at least start on the Mike situation. You know what I mean? It has to address it and everything. So anyway, this has been long and everything. So all I could just say is it's time to get back up on the truck, get back down the highway, on to our next rest stop, and I look forward to you enjoying the ride.